Leonard. I'm super excited to have him on here. I can't wait for him to share with you guys who he is, what he's all about, what he's up to, and where he's going to be going. So, with all that said, Brian, welcome to the Tony Shap Show.
Great to be here. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you. So, I have a famous top 10 with Tony, and I start off with the famous opener is what's a one word you could use to describe how you're feeling right now, Brian?
I think the one word would be ready. Ready for us to move forward in this world and get back to the new version of normal.
Yes, just like we were talking about before earlier, we just press record. It's a big one for all of us. Yeah, we got to get ready. Yeah, very cool. Let's go right into wins. So, share with the audience your recent W as in win that you got. That's big news for you. That's close to your heart in the context of business, and what you learned from it, so we could actually just be on the same page with you.
That's great. So the most recent win is my new company that we just started, Grouparoo. We just announced our series seed fundraising, and we raised $3 million from some great partners, and we're super excited to be working with them and building our open source customer data framework to help other businesses do more with their data.
Excellent. And for all of us that don't know exactly what your company is all about, do you mind telling us at a high level what it is that you do? Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, it seems likely. We're pretty new. I'd be very impressed if you're certainly on the TechCrunch RSS reader if you know everything about that. So Grouparoo is about connecting the data, most commonly from your data warehouse or your product, and it's about what your users and your customers are doing in your system. There's no good way to then get that to all the tools that your sales teams, your marketing teams, your customer support teams, your operations teams need. So you're using Zendesk or MailChimp or Marketo or Salesforce. Grouparoo is about synchronizing the data from your sources of truth out to those to save your engineers time and to make the teams that need that data more effective at their jobs.
Excellent. The best way, I mean, no one else I think could say that better than you. You know your business better than anyone else on this planet. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that with us for context. So now so we talked about recent win that you had, and let's talk about the opposite side of that. So I know that a lot of us don't like to talk about failure. It's a big
up and to the right, Tony, only.
Yeah. So talk to us about your recent failures that you had and what you learned from it. That'd be great.
Recent. We're having a pretty big business context, I guess. I think the biggest one, not particularly recent, but that always really sticks in my mind is I was the CTO and technical co-founder at TaskRabbit. It's a service to get things done in your house. And it was a while ago, but it sticks in my mind as we redid the whole platform. We launched it in London. We're just super, because it's also paired with our expectations. You know, we were so excited to launch this back in the United States. We did so, and some people were into it, but a lot of people were really, really frustrated with us. If you go on the internet and search for things, you can find like rabbits with like pitchforks and flames. You know, they're like very angry at this situation. And the thing I learned from it, we saw that as really an exciting PR opportunity more than like we clearly wanted to evolve the business, but we took it as an opportunity to do PR. And because of that, we didn't bring our customers and particularly our taskers along for that ride. And so we didn't, for them, it's like they woke up and their job literally changed out from under them. And, you know, you don't mess with people's livelihood and their rent and things like that. And that was customer first is well over PR or something like that is the lesson I took away.
Thanks for sharing that with us. That's a pretty big one. Now let's talk about your favorite online business tools that you're using today. So what would that be?
Well, we just got started again, and we're only 3 people, so we don't have as many tools as we had before. Before, it probably would have been something. I'm really big on sort of autonomy and self-empowerment. I would have said something like Looker was really transformative at TaskRabbit. And in our new company, I think it's just I don't know, especially in the current pandemic mode. Even though we started remote first, it's uh, tools that allow us to communicate. And so one that I'm using now for pairing with my co-founder and doing interviews is called Tuple. It allows you to share screen and draw on the screen and do things like that.
Awesome. Let's talk about your biggest business expense. So share with us, what is your as of today, what is your biggest business expense that you have currently?
I think probably pretty consistent with other companies at our stage. It's even our even our meager salaries is still our biggest expense in our new business here. After that, um, we're paying HubSpot, maybe would be the next biggest one. We're paying to keep track of who we're talking to and the people that are using our product and things like that.
Right. And of course, I'm a big payments guy. I've been in payments for a couple decades, more than a couple decades. So I have to ask you this question too. Are accept the cost for accepting payments, is that anywhere in the top 5 business expenses for you today?
No, no, we are, for better or worse, we have no revenue. We're an open source tool, building a community around data and engineers and marketers that rely on that data.
Got it. And moving right along with in terms of users. So what's your best resource right now and how are you getting new users and clients?
So far, it's been around, you know, uh, not traditional PR, but like, Product Hunt and Hacker News and things like that, and participating where our users are on Slack groups for data engineers, for example. Someone goes on there and says, I'm having trouble synchronizing my customer data to Marketo. And I know a lot about that now, way more than I ever thought I would. And I can tell them about it and the weird rate limits they have, but I can also say, you know, you add a lot of value, but you also can note that, there's an open source solution to this now. Why don't you check it out?
Beautiful. Now let's talk about another flip question. So what's a question that you always want, when you're being interviewed, Brian? What's one question that you wish people would ask you, if any, that they never ask, and what would that be?
It's interesting. I think in the context of my new business is like, what's the problem, or what inspired you, and what problem are you trying to solve? That's one I haven't heard today
Beautiful.
so far.
And what is that exactly?
Aha!
I know you mentioned.
I see what you did there. Very good. Well, it's like there's a Seinfeld where Kramer's he has the movie phone number and he says, "Well, why don't you just tell me what you want me to see?" Anyway,
I'll have to look that up. That's
it's a
cool.
good one. It's like hit spell it out with your phone, but all he hears are touch tones, so you can't really. Anyway,
Right. How do you
long
pick that
story.
up on touch tone? You're so right. So right.
Long time ago. Anyway, what inspired us was around really an organizational problem more than anything. Maybe another one of my failures that inspired this company is on a Monday. I was an executive at the company, and on a Monday, I'd approve $1 million for the marketing team to move our retention number this quarter. Great, we're all excited about that. We're going to take it, from 20% to 21%, and that's a lot. Great. So then on Thursday, the CMO comes to me and says, "All right, great. Remember that thing? Yeah, I'm excited about that thing. Well, we need to get this data into our email tool. The last time they purchased X, Y, or Z, so that we can send them a coupon. They bought razors, so 30 days later, we'll send them a coupon to razor blades." I'm really like, that's a good idea, maybe, but I can't do it. I'm working on the the product. I got my infrastructure to work on, all these other things. And they're like, well, what about the goal? I believe in you. You can do it. But we don't have the data to be successful. And so what we're trying to do is make that, 10 times, 100 times easier to say yes. Our engineers can support you in solving those problems that optimize and move the whole business by doing like what you do in a lot of other things, which is use open source code that's already ready to go.
Great. To your point, saying yes is easy sometimes, but it can be the most costly thing. So,
Yes.
but also, right? It's easier to say
Exactly.
no. I mean,
Much
it's easier to
easier.
say yes, right? It's easier to say yes, but the no is harder. But then yes could be the most, it could be super costly. But
Right.
every once in a while, saying yes to that one thing, like your 7-figure thing that you said yes to, and then you're trying to tighten up the next task that came your way, or the next decision the next day. Sometimes that yes could turn into something profitable. You never know. But more and more, you got to, because a lot of CEOs say I've became a CEO that likes the word no more than I like the word yes. And
It's a good strategy.
yeah,
Most people, particularly, helpful engineers, often say yes because it's not technically that hard. Like at that moment for that thing to do, like we need to get everybody that's signed up into MailChimp. Fairly easy. Like I'll write it. It's not hard at all. So yes, I'll write a query and I'll get you a spreadsheet. But that doesn't really solve their problem because you need to automate it. So now you have a habit of saying yes, and so you say yes to automating it. But then you don't do it the best because you're doing it as quickly as possible and there's no plan. And so one thing that we're excited about is a good architecture that you can say yes to that also saves you time.
that's beautiful. So sadly, as we're coming to an end, tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, your website address, and what's your preferred method of communication. They may have some questions about what you do or about this interview, or more about what you're going to be doing in the future. Let us know how we can get a hold of you.
Yep. So that's grouparoo.com, like kangaroo.com, grouparoo.com. We're a kangaroo themed group building tool for segmenting your customer data. I'm on Twitter at Leonard, and you can just email me. I got a new inbox, raring to go. Brian at grouparoo.com.
Perfect. And at the end, I like to ask one question. It's one word close. What's the one word close that you can use to describe how you're feeling right now, Brian?
Energized. I've enjoyed.
Energized.
I love telling the story and talking about how I think we can help people. And thanks for giving me a way to do that, Tony.
Of course. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciated it. And on behalf of me and the listeners, thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your story with us. It's very powerful.